decision today to name Kyler as your starting quarterback?
It was pretty simple, honestly. I don't know that there's some elaborate breakdown, that we have. I just think as we looked at the whole body of work, thought that he was just slightly ahead of Austin. And so it was a very close one. Like I told you guys the other day, it was very close, stayed that way, one of the closest that I've been involved with. They both did a tremendous job. End of the day, only one can do it. And we'll need them both to be successful this year, we know. And but Kyler's going to be the guy right now.
Lincoln, what changed or how did it evolve since Monday?
Just a couple more practices, honestly. We put the same amount of weight or importance on each and every day. So I don't know that we learned just something earth-shattering here in the last 2 days. I think, again, it was getting a chance to see these guys in a little bit more of a prep mode, getting to see them against the scout team, working against some of the our upcoming opponents. So getting to see them a little bit in a different light, and then just gave us a little bit more to look back on and make our decision on.
How did Austin take the news?
Like any competitor you would expect, handled it, in a very mature way. Well, certainly is disappointed, wants to play. For a guy like him, you can't sit there and say, well, what I did here over the last, several months didn't work. What he did over the last several months did work. He's a much improved player. It's going to help him a lot going forward, and he's got to continue to bring the same mindset and attitude that he did throughout this entire competition, because regardless of anybody else, he has improved dramatically. And he started it off today. He came out there on, what we all know is a difficult day for him, and had a heck of a practice.
How much do you think his improvement helped Kyler along?
I don't know. I mean, the competition always helps. They probably helped each other. When you got two guys that are playing at a high level, they both understand somebody's not going to win this by default. It's sometimes you have only one good player, and it's pretty obvious. And regardless of what you say, it's clear to everybody, who it is, and that this guy's just a whole lot better. And that wasn't the case here. So they made each other better. They fed off of each other. When one of them would raise their game, the other one would answer back, and they both played at a high level. So it's made them better individually, and it certainly made this team better.
Well, how was this talk with Austin different compared to last year when you told him he was going to redshirt?
It's a different, competition to be the starting guy is just different. There's a different feel to it. He's in a lot different place than he was. He was just coming off of his first year backing up Baker and still trying to figure it all out. That had been a little bit of a whirlwind for him, as we can all imagine. And last year for his development, it made a lot of sense. This year was different because his approach was better. He's a much better player. He's more invested, more in tune with what we're doing. I mean, he played at a high level. So it was this one's always hard, no doubt, when both guys are playing at a high level. But that's part of it. He gets it. We all get it. And he's going to have an important role going forward for this team. We're going to need him, and I think he'll be ready to respond when that time comes.
Kyler says that he's been playing the best that he's ever played. Can you kind of put that in perspective, what you've seen different from him when you first arrived to now?
He's certainly grown a lot. I think maturity-wise, he's grown a lot in every sense of it. I feel like the last 2 years were really good for him. He came into A&M, so heralded, so much hype behind it, and then to be able to come here, kind of catch his breath, learn from this program, the culture in this program, from the people in it, to have different roles, from going to being a scout team guy, and then being a backup last year. Those are roles that he's never had to have in his life. So that was all good for him. I think to understand the whole process, what it really takes to be great, and so. He's got a lot better. He's got a long ways to go. This is just a starting point here, but obviously I'm excited about his progress.
What time did you let Kyler know? Can you guys take us through what that conversation was like?
I got them both in this morning, late to mid-morning, and told them. That's pretty simple, just told them. I think it's situations like that guys, whether it's good news for them or bad news, I mean, these are elite athletes, they're competitors. They don't want you to beat around the bush. They want you to just tell them straight, and that's what I did. And so told them both what the situation was, what the expectations were going forward, what we based the decision on, and then didn't spend too much on camp and the decision, all that. It was more, all right, that's all well and good now. Now, what do you need to do going forward? So that was my approach with both of them.
Lincoln,
Sort of touching on that, you talked last week about your last big quarterback battle at East Carolina and the way that shook out those first couple games. How do you keep Kyler sharp and improving and Austin engaged and ready if he's needed?
Well, that's where the competition comes back because, they know that, we have two good players in there. And they know the expectation of just within this offense, the expectations we have as far as the quarterback's performance and our offense's performance. So they realize that. They realize that this is, this right now is for the next 10 days and then the first snap against FAU. And then after that, it's about, who's playing the best, who stays healthy, all those different things that are going to determine who plays. So this is, we keep the competition always going here, no matter the position, no matter the time of the year. That's just what we believe in this program, and quarterback's no different.
Do you think you might work Austin in from time to time?
What's that?
Do you think you might work Austin in from time to time, given the fact that the race was so close?
Yeah, I'd love to be able to work him in. So we got to see how games go, how the natural progression goes. But I'm very comfortable. I could have just easily said that he was going to be the quarterback and would have complete faith and confidence in his ability to lead us.
Big part of these guys, whoever's going to get the job, they're going to be a new quarterback. Hadn't played a lot. A lot's made the last year about Baker's leadership of the team. Looking back, how much did coaching have to do with Baker and his leadership style? How much will it deal with Kyler and his style of leadership?
Well, it's different. Their styles are different, and everybody's styles are different. But the key is how somebody would lead last year's team and how somebody would lead this year's team are different. The team dynamic is so different. And, being a quarterback is, you got to be what your team needs you to be in those moments. And part of it is knowing your team well enough to figure that out. And so there's things that these guys both do well as leaders. There's things Kyler does very well as a leader. There's things he's got to grow on, just like all the young quarterbacks that we've had. But I'm confident in his ability to lead our group and to do his job. And he's got to do a great job, like all of our players, like me as the head coach, of figuring out how this team needs to be led and what's the most effective way to do it.
Lincoln, he's so fast that it's, when you talk about him, it's hard not to focus just on that speed. But he's shown you that he can really throw the ball. I mean, obviously he couldn't quarterback here if he didn't throw the ball. It seems like nationally a lot of people miss that he's been a pretty good throwing quarterback for you, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, guy wouldn't be able to play here, nor would we recruit him here if we didn't think they were going to be a good enough thrower. I mean, it starts with that. And it starts with the ability to lead, and it starts with the ability to throw the football. And everything else is all well and good, but our guys are going to have to be able to do that. So he's going to get his chance. People can say this or that, but he'll get his chance to show what he can do.
Lincoln, Bob used to tell us in these competitions that the guy who makes the fewest catastrophic mistakes is usually the one who wins the competition. Does that stand for this as well? And where do you measure that? Where do you assess that measurement?
It's absolutely a big factor. Just because you can't win championships and you can't win big games. Making those huge mistakes, and those are the ones in large part we've been able to avoid here for the last several years, and that'll be key going forward. It was certainly an important part of this competition, but it was not they were close enough in that respect that it was definitely not a differentiating factor.
Lincoln, how do you moving forward? How do you kind of have to manage expectations? Because you look at Baker's start; he was good against Akron, but it really took that second half of Tennessee before he kind of started becoming who he was as a quarterback in this offense. Do you kind of have to manage, any kind of frustrations you might have early on with Kyler?
Well, we're in a different time and place, but I do think it is important. For all of us to keep in perspective. You said the second half of Tennessee. It's really the second half of the fourth quarter and overtime, and then we had a couple games. I think we played Tulsa here, and he played pretty good. Didn't play well at Texas. Really the first half of that season was just, okay offensively, quarterback, all the above. Some great moments, some not great moments, and second half of that season is where he started to take off. But then again, he was also dealing with, a brand new offense at the time, as were all those other offensive players. So our expectations are high. You know, we've got good players around these guys. These guys are good players. You know, our expectations offensively, I would say, are right where they've been here for the last couple of years.
Who asked you about mistakes, Lincoln? And the last time anyone saw Kyler consistently at quarterback, he still made, you know, at A&M. Was that a case at that stage of his career of a supreme athlete still trying to figure out the position?
I don't know. Last time everybody saw Baker before he played here, he made a bunch of them too.
Right, and the growth was obvious in his
Yeah.
case. I take it you see the same
Yeah.
potential for a curve there.
Sure.
For that
No,
kid.
it's hard for you know freshmen to play
Right.
this position. No question about it. It's doable. You see some guys across the nation having some degrees of success. Most of them don't have the leeway or put as much on them, and you know that we do offensively. So, but yeah, I think you know Kyler's certainly grown. I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to what he did at A&M other than when I looked at him before we brought him here. But I'm happy with his progress. I think he's quite a bit different than he was then.
Did you notice Kyler carrying himself differently today, officially knowing that he's the guy?
No, not really. I mean, he's kind of his own guy, and they need to be. And I think he's worked hard to try to lead here, and will continue to do so. But no, I'm sure. I probably felt a little different to everybody out there, for the first day. But that's just a first day thing, and tomorrow we'll be back to business as usual.
How's this going to help you as an offensive coordinator, knowing who your quarterback is going the opener now?
Well, it helps, but also, we're one snap away from in a lot of different situations of playing with the other guy, and then I think also, luckily enough, I've had these guys here now for multiple years, and so I feel like I've got a good grasp on what they're comfortable with, what they do well, what they don't. Well, I'll continue to learn about them. We will as a staff, but it's not like it's two new guys rolling in here. So I think we've got a pretty good grasp on what they can do well and how we can tailor it best to fit both of them.
Along those lines, you talked about that tailoring the quarterback. Now you have the player. How does that kind of make it easier for you now going into the season? Maybe open up the offense more than maybe you had it during fall camp at all. And how does that make you feel going forward?
Makes me feel fine. I mean, somebody's got to play. I don't know opening up the offense. I mean, we've been pretty wide open here for the last few years, so we're going to try to keep scoring some points, try to do the best we can each and every week. I don't know that we ever feel like, well, all of a sudden we're just opening it up. It's just more of, what do you have at the certain time? What's going to be the best strategy and scheme to help us score points and try to win this game, and whatever that is, we do it.
Because this game is such a quarterback-driven game, and it's difficult to win if your starting quarterback is injured. What's your fear factor right now, your fear level of letting him run, letting him be the athlete that he is?
I don't coach with fear. This is football. Things happen. Guys get nicked up. I mean, it's just part of the game, and I think that's why you recruit hard. That's why you have people behind them, because if you coach or play scared or with fear, then it's hard to be very successful. I think you also got to be smart. Baker was a great example. It took him his first year. He took a lot of shots that were absolutely unnecessary, and so that's something that you've got to grow from. And so there'll be maybe not that. There'll be different things that we're gonna have to learn and grow from. That's part of the process. But we're not gonna let fear take control of us there. We're gonna be aggressive. That's always been our
It's the
mindset.
first time you've had a running quarterback quite like this. You have to temper your own expectations. Say we're absolutely not going to give him the ball 20 times a game, or is 6 too many, or do you have a number in your head?
I don't have a number in my head. We're just trying to coach to win. And that's all of our players are on board with that. They understand that. That's just kind of the expectations when you walk in the door here.
With Austin, you mentioned keeping him engaged during a season. You've mentioned before that maybe the door isn't shut, that Kyler could come back, and you guys obviously have quarterbacks coming in all the time. What advice would you have to him staying engaged maybe over the next couple seasons that, this may not be his last quarterback battle?
Oh, sure. Oh, it won't be. It won't be. He's too good of a player. And so I think he can't look at the results of today and say that what I've done over the last few months or through my career here has not worked. It has, and then specifically what he's done over the last 4 or 5 months through this summer and in this fall camp, his rise has been as strong as anybody in our program. So if he continues to do that, great things are going to happen for that kid, no doubt about it.
Two more.
Kyler's a pretty stone-faced guy. He give you any kind of reaction at all when you gave him the news?
Yeah, I mean, he's excited, but I mean, I think both those guys, regardless who I would have told the good news to, I think they both understand that the real work's ahead. And this is just part of the process. That's, again, it's where it goes back being good to having guys that have been through this program, they've played in games, they've backed up guys, they've seen a lot. Now, I know they've got to go do it, but, they don't get too high or too low, and I think they understand, everything that's getting ready to come at them. I think they understand that it's going to be a long process, and we're off to a good start, but we as a team and they as players have a long ways to go.
Lincoln, now that you've named a starting quarterback, did you name a starting center to go along with that?
Not yet. We're not yet on that one. That one's a little bit easier to play out, just because of the nature of the position, a little bit easier to play out. So still a great battle, but not ready yet.
All right, thanks everybody.
All right, thanks.
Let's go.